Hello, everyone. Brick City Brown Chick coming at you. This is the week of April 13th, 2025. I've got a sort of berry purple-ish makeup story going on today, more makeup than I usually wear. And I've got a little sparkle on because I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, which is music. Anybody who knows me or has known me longer than, say, 10 minutes knows I love music and have since I was a very young child, like 5 or 6. And my parents, as I got older, let me go through their record collection back in the days when record collections were really records. And so I was able to listen to recordings from Ike and Tina Turner and Aretha Franklin and the Temptations and the Four Tops and the Supremes and all those Motown greats. Individually, my parents were into what on the surface would seem very different types of music. My mother was into country, which was not really surprising because she's from North Carolina and she is a country girl. My father was also from the country. He was from Georgia. However, he was into jazz. And like I said, on the surface, country and jazz seem like very different genres. But for me as a kid, I came to interchange them because to me, it pretty much sounded like the music was different, but the messages were the same. Things like, my woman left me, she took my dog in my truck. I really miss my dog in my truck, that kind of thing. So I got to hear all kinds of music really early in life. And that I am super grateful for because it opened my horizons to listening to all kinds of things. I was one of the only, little kids still in the single digits who liked listening to Elton John and Carly Simon and Carole King and Neil Diamond, back in the 70s when adult contemporary was a big genre. And then as I got into my teens, as the 80s came along, I got into New Wave and the second British invasion with Duran Duran and Culture Club and the Smiths and The Cure and the B-52s, who are not British, who are American, but are from that time frame. And then as the 90s hit, I got more into sort of 90s R&B, Tony Braxton, Boys to Men, New Edition, things like that. So I've been through all kinds of musical fades and phrases and time frames. And so I'm always super interested every year when the nominees for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame come out, because I think it's sort of a time capsule and a window into what type of music was popular, and listening to people talk about how they feel about that kind of music. So for this video, I wanted to talk about what the criteria actually is for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because I hear all sorts of arguments from people every year about this kind of music shouldn't be in there and that kind of music shouldn't be there and this artist deserves it and this artist doesn't. And then when I ask them what the criteria is, they always look at me blankly. Or if it's online, if it's an online argument, they have no response because they don't know. They just know what their opinion is. And everybody knows the saying about opinions. They're like bleep holes. Everybody's got one. So let's back up opinions with some facts. That's what I thought I'd do this video. So the first criteria to be nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is that it has to have been 25 years since the release of your first album, EP, or song. So 25 years is the minimum right off the bat. The next two criteria are the ones that get people all in their feelings. And the first one says whether an artist is nominated is based on their impact on music, culture, and how they have influenced other artists. That is a broad statement. And it always gets people into the conversation of, well, who gets to decide that? Who gets to decide who's influential and who isn't? And how are you supposed to take a measure of that to decide whether people should be honored or not? So that's the first criteria that gets people in their feelings. The other is the scope and longevity of an artist's career and their body of work. So, say for example, you're talking about a group like, let's say Judas Priest, okay? Judas Priest was inducted into the Hall a few years ago. Judas Priest has been around since the 1970s, and I don't know how many albums they've made, but I know it's in the double digits. So already, right off the bat, you can say, based on the second criteria, Judas Priest is qualified. Has Judas Priest been an influential band? Absolutely. Tons of bands who have come after them have cited Judas Priest as an influence. So that's already done. And has it been 25 years since their first album? Absolutely. They've been around more than 50 years. So based on those three criteria, it's easy to understand why Judas Priest was put into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Where this discussion always gets dicey, that's a good word, dicey, is when you start talking about women, about people of color, in this case specifically Black people, and a caveat to that is rap. Rap music has been super polarizing for people who have opinions about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I have heard a lot of people say that rock and roll is rock and roll, whether that phrase makes any sense to you or not. I know what they mean when they say that. What they usually mean is rock and roll is white and rock and roll is not rap. Now, the issue I've always had with that, besides the obvious, I mean, right now, the only rappers that are not Black that are in the Hall of Fame are the Beastie Boys. They were the first white rap group inducted, and Eminem. No one, at least no one with sense, is going to argue that the Beastie Boys and Eminem have not been influential on groups that have come after them. Where people feel more strongly is about some of the other rap groups that are in the hall. NWA. And yes, NWA is an acronym, and if you don't know what it means, Google it, because I can't say that on YouTube. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, who were the first rap group. Run DMC. Missy Elliott, who became the first female rapper inducted into the hall. People have serious feelings about whether rap people should be there or not. I've always thought it's a ridiculous argument. The reality is that music evolves. We are not listening to the same type of music in 2025 that we were listening to in 1965 or 1985 or 2015. We're just not. So as music evolves, as genres are invented and disappear, you recognize the people from that genre and that time. And rap is not the first category to experience that type of, I'll just use the word prejudice. It's not, because I remember when people from the disco era began entering the hall, and people had all kinds of feelings about that. Donna Summer is one of my favorite artists of all time, and her voice was amazing. She could sing gospel, she could sing pop, she could sing disco. So when people were upset that Donna Summer was posthumously inducted, I just thought it was ridiculous and nonsensical. So music evolves. Rock music is not what it was. Heavy metal music is not what it was. And even rap music is not what it was when rap first came out more than 50 years ago. So I just think it's ridiculous for people to want to make that argument. The other issue that people seem to have that a lot of people are not as vocal about because they get a lot more blowback about it. But I have heard some people make the argument that the women who are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as solo artists did not earn their place. And again, absolutely crazy and ridiculous. The very first woman inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1987 was Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul. To honestly make the argument that Aretha Franklin didn't earn her place is obscene. And as far as I'm concerned, it's blasphemous. It is just ridiculous. There are women who have been inducted with both a band and for their solo work. These include Stevie Nicks and Tina Turner, the Queen of Rock and Roll. Stevie Nicks went in with Fleetwood Mac, and then she went in for her solo work. Tina Turner went in with the Ike and Tina Turner Review, and also for her solo work. There is a wide range of women in the call. Pat Benatar, Joan Jett, Ma Rainey, all types of women. Janis Joplin, Carol Cole, Etta James. I mean, women who transcend their genre and made a place for other women to do what they do. So to argue that women have no place in this establishment is also ridiculous. So I hope now that everybody has a better handle on what the criteria is, you will look at the final list of people who are chosen this year, and they are chosen not by fans. Fans get a vote, but they are chosen by an international committee of musicians and producers and experts in music. So these are musicians and people in music recognizing their peers and their outstanding contributions. So I hope people, now that you have a clearer sense of what the criteria is, that you will be more open-minded to the people who are chosen for the hall this year and appreciate their contributions to music, even if their music is not your cup of tea. That's what I wanted to say about the Rock Hall itself this week. My second video for this week will specifically be about the 2025 nominees. Fan voting closes this week, and I think the nominating committee will be coming out with their final list either the end of April or the beginning of May. We'll know who was selected for the hall this year. So I will share the whole list of the 2025 nominees and my short list of people I'm pulling for and why. So thank you for joining me for the show this week, and I will see you all soon. Take care.